Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video we're gonna talk about agent orchestration within Copilot Studio. So within Copilot Studio you might have seen you have the concept of having a main agent and you have multiple child agents. And the reason for that is that you actually want to have like specialized dedicated agent for certain tasks, and they all being orchestrated by a higher main agent. Because this basically forecomes that the LLM is hallucinating a lot and can better handle the user requests. So let's check out how we can have such an architecture and how it can look. So Copilot Studio architecture can look like the following. You have a main agent on the top, which is here, which is also just a normal Copilot Studio agent. And below those agents, you have two child agents. Those child agents are for dedicated tasks. Let's say one is for creating marketing descriptions and another one is to handle service requests. So from the main agent, we can then analyze, okay, what is the intent of the user prompt, and then either guide him to child agent 1 or child agent B. Be aware that you can have multiple child agents here, so it's not limited to 2 child agents. It can be 3, 4, 5, depending on how many tasks you have. Obviously, if you're going to add a lot of agents, there can also come hallucination in place again, but therefore you have to really add a lot of different agents in there. On the main agent itself, there's also going to be, as we call it, common tools or common tools, and that could be, for example, knowledge, which you have on the main agent. It could be a tool like sending an email, or it can be topic if you want to control the user flow better. The cool thing is, if you have a tool on this level, let's say sending an email, the child agent from here can use this tool as well via the main agent, and the child agent can also use it from here. That has the benefit that you don't need to have to send an email tool on both child agents, and you don't need to maintain them. You just put them on the main agent and both child agents can consume that. Once you're within a child agent, they can have their own knowledge as well. So we can expose different knowledge which is dedicated to the business specific task which they are doing, and they can have tools themselves as well. So that's how you would architect a Copilot Studio with having that main agent and the different child agents. So as a next step, let's dive into Copilot Studio, how that looks. We are now in Copilot Studio and we're going to start off with creating our main agent. So we're going to build a customer service orchestrator. So you could name it like customer service main agent, and we're going to give it an instruction. So the important thing is we are describing now the main agent. So we are not specifying here the different specialities which we're going to have in the child agents. We're going to tell only the main agent how it needs to orchestrate, which agent it needs to use in which case, or which common tool it needs to use in the case. So in that case, we're going to say, okay, you're the customer service orchestrator. Your role is to receive customer support message and to decide which specialized agent, that's the one which we are going to build in the next step, the billing or the technical agent. So basically it should analyze the incoming customers, and if the issue is related to billing, it should route it to the billing expert. And if it's related to technical problems, bugs, errors, or usage questions, then the technical troubleshooter should be used. After receiving the specialized agent's draft, it's important to note that it can also use the send an email tool, which is going to be a common tool on the main agent. And we just give it some instructions on that it needs to be polite, professional, and short. So at this moment, we are not adding any knowledge yet, and we can just hit create. It's going to take a moment until that one is created, and then we can start building the child agents. Now that my agent is provisioned, we can give it the first common tool, because we're going to finish first setting up the main agent. It doesn't matter really in which order you're going to do. However, I'm choosing now to start with the tool. So we're going to select the Office 365 Outlook, and we're going to give it a send an email connector. So let's just add and configure it. And the cool thing is, now that we are adding and configuring it on the main agent, that means that both child agents can use it via the main agent as well, without the need to configure it on the child agents. So in here, we can now configure the tool based on what we want to do. Let's just check that. That's the email address, that's the subject, and that's the body of the email. So that is basically what we need for that already. And if we now go back to the main agent, we're going to see that the tool is added here now. Now we need to ensure that in the system prompt that this shared tool, the send email in that case, is being put up correctly. So in that case, we're going to update our system prompt, use the shared send email tool to send the follow-up to the customer. So we can exchange the send email here by just typing a slash, select our tool, and now it's pointing directly to that specific tool, and it knows based on the system prompt when to use it. So you just hit save, and that's updating now our main agent with the system prompt. As next step, we can go on top here to the agents, and we can hit here add an agent. Important to know now is you can choose of 2 different agent types which you can use here. Well, in theory it's free, which is Fabric, but that we are not covering that in that session. There's a lightweight agent, which is this one, similar to the M365 agent builder or Copilot Lite, which it is now. Or you can also use a Copilot Studio agent, which you have built already. Or we're going to build it in the next step as well and then connect it to the agent. But for our first agent, the billing expert, let's just use a lightweight agent. And in the configuration now here, you can see what is the difference. So if you see the full Copilot Studio normal agent setup, this one is basically a lighter version of that. So you cannot set up a separate authentication for it. You cannot describe topics for it. However, you have knowledge, you have tools, and you have your instructions, a system prompt, which is actually for most of the agents already enough. So we're gonna name this one the billing expert. And important to know now is when will this be used? So we can just leave it on the agent chooses, or what you can also do, we can direct from a topic, for example, to that agent. However, we want to give the main agent the full flexibility to call this child agent when it wants to use it. So therefore, we're gonna leave it on the agent is choosing when to use it. Important, you also need to provide a description. To be clear, a description is not the system prompt. So a description is similar to a tool description or to a topic description. You need to tell the main agent when the child agent needs to be called. So therefore, we're gonna set up first our system prompt for the child agent. This one is basically once you are within that, or the main agent has decided I need a child agent now, it's using these instructions, the system prompts, to handle the request further within the child agent, and then is passing back the output to the main agent again. And in the description, we can say now, this agent is handling, you can just copy that from here. And we can say something like the following: you should use the agent when there are questions about payments, invoices, refunds, and subscriptions. So here, similar to a tool description, we are telling the main agent, you should use this agent once you identify the intent and you think this agent is the right one. Let's just have a short look into advanced. You can also set the priority here when it should be called, and you can even pass variables from the main agent in here, but that's not for this session. So let's hit save, and then this agent will appear in our agent sections if we go back to here. So if we now click on the billing expert, going to see this description here and our system prompt, and now it's part of a main agent. Next to a lightweight agent, we can also use a normal Copilot Studio agent. So therefore, let me just create this briefly. We have the technical troubleshooter, which is handling everything about technical support questions. And just as you're used to it, we have a system prompt for the Copilot Studio agent, and we can just configure that and we can hit create. So the cool thing is, if you create an agent that way, you can consume it in multiple Copilot Studio agents. You can consume it standalone, or you can have you can consume it from one or many main agents in that case. Now that my agent is provisioned, I'm gonna find it back from my main agent. Therefore, it's important to just make a hard refresh of your Copilot Studio from your main agent. Otherwise, it's not gonna appear in there. And when you now hit add an agent instead of the lightweight agent, you will select the Copilot Studio agent in here. And what you see now is here, this one is grayed out. And there are actually two reasons for that. First one is it needs to be published to appear in that list. And secondly, it needs to be enabled to be able to be called by a main agent. So therefore, in our child agent, we're gonna navigate to settings, and we're gonna make sure that let other agents connect and use this one is enabled. And then we hit publish. And once this agent is published, we can refresh again on the main agent, and it should be enabled for the connection then. Now we can see in our child agent that it has been published. And if we go back to our main agent now, click on add an agent, select Copilot Studio, we can see here that the technical troubleshooter is appearing in here. And then important to know here, you can see a description is required for this orchestrator to pick the agent. And you can also see you can enable or disable past conversation history. Obviously, you want to leave that on because you want to know what the user is talking about in the main agent, so you can properly route it further to the specific child agent. So you're handling technical support issues, and you are diagnosing problems from the customer messages. So with all descriptions like it is in Copilot Studio, the better you describe all of these different descriptions, the better will the agent or the main agent will be in calling your child agents. That is basically the rule for all tools you describe, all knowledge sources, and all child agents which you're using. So you can see now both of the agents are added, and the important thing now is that we also add these inside our system prompt. So we just hit edit here if the issue is related to billing, route it to the billing expert. So we can just leave it like that, make a backslash again, and link the agent here. And we do the same for the technical troubleshooter. So let's hit save on the system prompt here. And then we can put it finally to the test. So let's ask the following. Hi, I just checked my credit card statement and I've been charged twice for my subscription. Can you help me fix this? So in that case, we would expect that it's calling the billing expert in that case. And what we can see now here really good is it directly wants to reach out to the customer. So let's check what happens to the billing expert first, investigate and resolve the double charge on the subscription. And you can see an output also. Adrian reached out regarding a double charge on the subscription. The assistant acknowledged the issue and assured Adrian that the matter would be investigated and resolved promptly. And we can also see the rationale. So the rationale means it's checking why it has been used this specific child agent. So the reason is reissue the user's account and subscription. investigate the transaction history, and initiate a refund, etc. So what we can see now here in the next step is that the connector action will be called directly. So we have to press here one time allow, so we can create a connection reference for this specific one. And we can see it executed that here. So let's check what happens in the action here. It used Adrian at DigitalBricks AI, and it's directly saying, "Dear Adrian, thank you for reaching out regarding the double charge on your subscription. We have acknowledged the issue and are currently investigating it. We will resolve this matter promptly and keep you updated on the progress." You can see the subject here directly, investigation of double charge on subscription. And I can see directly here in my Outlook yet that this one is popping up now. Investigation of double charge on subscription. Dear Adrian, thank you for reaching out. So it's just matching the email which was just sent. So what we can see here now really well is the child agent was used. It passed back the context to our main agent, and the main agent decided it's a good idea to use the send an email tool now to directly answer to the specific user. Let's also test the other agent which we have on our main agent. So we can ask, for example, every time I try to upload a file, the app freezes and then crashes. This started happening since yesterday. So let's just submit that because that's a technical issue which we have this time. And we can see it's going to the technical troubleshooter and trying to search through the knowledge. Currently it doesn't have any specific knowledge. It has only the general knowledge enabled, but here, for example, you could put your common documentation of system failures which you have. And what it's doing here now is to insist in resolving the issue with the app freezing during file uploads. Could you please provide more information? So it realized, okay, hey, I don't have enough context, and is basically asking the user for more information about that. But what we can see here really well now is it didn't go to the billing expert, it didn't use the email itself. It basically, okay, the technical troubleshooter is the right agent to facilitate a request and is therefore working on that. So this is how you can easily build your multi-agent orchestration. So important to know is always start with a main agent, especially if you have multiple tasks or multiple domains which you're working in. Make a domain-specific child agents. Think about what are your common tools. It can be sending an email, writing a Teams message, or even creating a bar chart based on an AI builder prompt. That's fully up to you. You can choose which ones you put on the common tools, or you give dedicated tools to the child agents as well. Same applies to the knowledge. You can give certain domain knowledge to the child agents, or you can give common knowledge about the whole company on the main agent itself. So thank you very much for tuning in again, and see you in the next one.